Good morning, Tuvalu, and welcome back to Star Trek Lower Decks, Season 5, Episode 10, the final episode of Lower Decks, the new Next Generation, where today, before the stream, I noticed the little goal button above the chat, and you can set, like, super chat goals, and so naturally, I attempted immediately to set a goal of 0 super chats or 1 super chat for $0, and YouTube wouldn't let me. So it's a very, very sad day today. Also, I realized that if I knew Boimler was going to be growing a beard through this season, I would have had Alex draw 10 thumbnails with progressively more and more beard. That was the wrong one, because that actually does look pretty good, doesn't it? You know, it really took a while to get there, but it's settled. He's become Riker. Yes, the final episode of Lower Decks. This season, for me, as you can probably tell, hasn't been one of Lower Decks' best. Don't get me wrong, it's been good. There were a few episodes that didn't quite hit expectations, but I'll say this one, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good finale. They managed to make like a universe is at stakes. It's very action heavy. Cut the last 5-10 minutes. There was character work, but it definitely wasn't the focus. But I still thought it was very good. I was engaged. Something about the pacing or just the action sequences. I liked, actually, I'm gonna stay on this screenshot for this. One thing they do with Lower Decks is they do a lot of, with the art style. And one of the things I really liked, I learned early on with Season 1, is they would generally draw the bridge and the bridge crew better than the main cast in the Lower Deckers. They would add more detailing, they would add more shadowing. What I'm getting at is they would do exactly this, where the Lower Decks crew has never looked this good. And if you go back to like the opening shot of the bridge crew, they all looked like this in like episode 1. And I think this episode generally, obviously with this final shot, with all their 1.5 pips, I think they had a lot of scenes that put the Lower Deckers in what we're used to, like subconsciously or consciously, as bridge crew scenes and elements. Obviously it was incredibly dynamic. You have scenes where, everyone's moving around a lot, but like Rutherford slid into the warp core, Mariner jumping over consoles, and it's all done with the Lower Deckers. Lower Deckers, I don't think that's accurate anymore. It was all done with those Lower Deckers, and I think there was just something fulfilling or novel, even just of kind of seeing the conclusion of these character arcs that we've been on. I'm going to spend a lot of time on that one frame, by the way, in the elevator. Of course, because we know it's the final episode. I hope you knew. If you're learning now that this was the final ever episode of Lower Decks, I'm sorry. But, no, there was just something about it that really kept me going and kept me engaged. I don't actually know if I'm going to have too much to say about the plot beforehand. Probably most of this review is going to be back here. I did get the feeling, which matches up with kind of the timelines of how things happened, that this episode wasn't written to be a season finale. There were just a lot of things early on that gave me that vibe, and it was more around about this part, like the closing of the rift, where we started actually getting season finale vibes, and I'm like, okay, now you're wrapping up. I believe, just looking at this timestamp too, they gave Lower Deck some extra time and budget to finish up the show. But that was just a personal take I got, because we did have the conclusions of several arcs before that point. They were nice. They were perhaps a little like simplistic in places, perhaps a little more tell, don't show. Like you have, Freeman literally telling the characters like, "No, you're my best officers. I trust you." Um, there's even the odd bit when they told their mom about like the universe potentially ending, and they're like, "Wow, we expected, there to be a lot more work getting you to believe us." I was like, "You did?" Like, I don't know. I feel this show has done such a good job showing the journeys of all these characters that I'm like, no, I expect Freeman to be like, wow, this is serious. We should look into it immediately. Especially with so much at stake. Um, but yeah, I'm not just talking about, the lower deckers here. I also mean the bridge crew, because Lower Decks has done a fantastic job. I'm even going to give it a great honor and compare it to Deep Space Nine here, where Deep Space Nine, of course, juggled more side characters, but it really fleshed out all those side characters, and we really cared about them. I think given the shorter runtime and the shorter season count, Lower Decks really pulled off something similar. Ransom, Shax, Carol. Why is it first name for some, last name for others? Don't ask me. No, I mean, I was watching even just at random points in this episode, being happy for Ransom and the captain. Like, the captain's promotion is a big one. But just moments that felt like fulfillment of those characters. I just liked being them. I really want to shout out, I don't know if it's this scene, but when Freeman gets the fake call from, Freeman, I suppose, it was obviously odd somehow, but she has the line, she's like, no, what? We can't just ignore the rules because our friends are involved. Oh, thank God. Fine. Thank you, Freeman, best captain. Like, I don't think we've had someone like that since Picard. And I even complained about Prodigy. It was almost like, with Star Trek, we've gotten to the point now where Captain Janeway and her senior officers, like, are openly discussing the possibility of mutiny. Because they're not put in charge of a mission, and that's the first thing that comes up at the meeting, and the resolution is, Captain, we've mutinied so many times recently, you just can't take another one. It's like almost been this given that there's a systemic problem of everyone in Starfleet just kind of sticking to the ships that they're on and not really caring about the organization as a whole. Recipe for disaster. Thank you, Lower Decks, for taking a step back from that. But it's stuff like this that I really kind of get the vibes of you didn't write for a season finale of the arc of T'Lyn in Tendi. Just kind of, I guess, learning to get along. I'm struggling to find the exact words because they did get along. Was just kind of like they got along. That was the resolution. Not really how you would end the season finale or the series finale for the two characters. Don't get me wrong, we got stuff over here. For most of my review, take a line here, right there, and ignore everything to the right. We'll get to that line. But no, I do still think there were fun things. I liked it. It's a very small thing. And sorry, I don't know why my internet's being weird today. The stream is fine, but Paramount is rendering a lot of very blurry images because we're not playing it. It's doing that thing, even though I have, like, fiber. I have, like, probably 300 megs down. It's still going to load a, like, 180p image at first because it doesn't think I can handle it. But yeah, back to the point. It's such a minor thing, but, we have the story of Boimler finally seeing the negative things with the pads. And it's so minor, but it is nice that we're including these little sprinkles. And it's also good, of course, that the whole universe is at stake. Obviously, they're not going to destroy the universe, but they threw in and focused mostly on this Klingon stuff. They had other things there. I'm trying to find the Klingon in the heat of battle and all that. I had a follow-up point. Oh yeah, no, and even to the extent of like solving the actual problem in that big briefing we get, we open with like, yeah, this problem is actually trivial to solve. Like once you get there, you shoot a beam at it. I got a feeling any other Star Trek, even Prodigy, amazingly written, is like would have posed this as some unsolvable challenge. But like, no, just fire a beam. We know what to do. I'm sorry. I noticed this watching the episode 2, and I wondered why Dr. Tiana was in a pirate hat, and then I kind of didn't think much about it. And then I've just clocked here, it's because of the whole Long John Silver. We're going to move on from that. Was this guy someone we knew from, like, classics? Not... Well, I guess classic Star Trek, yeah. Because he sounded like he was almost recorded work from home or something. He had a weirdly lower mic quality, which kind of suggests this was someone they specifically wanted to come in but couldn't come in at the right date. I don't know. And I think before I get to the final season arc stuff, we're going a little bit out of order here with the scene-by-scene stuff first. I want to shout out... the joke of that Klingon turning into the Discovery Klingons. That one got me. I got a laugh out of that. I'll admit. This is if you wanna do Discovery Klingons, this is how you do it. See, look, he's horrified. I don't know. It was just unexpected. I liked it. But now down to the ending. I think this last part was a much better end to both the season and the series as a whole. I really wonder if there were plans for a season 6, what they would do. Like this whole thing of other quantum realities. I mean, it's basically Deep Space Nine, but you could put a whole show around this, I'd also would have opened up reference opportunities. But it's just kind of amazing to me that this is a thing that exists, and like Prodigy, Picard, and Discovery haven't brought it up. Even though I know the universe is a big place, you think this might come up. Hey, Emperor Georgiou, I know you want to get back to the mirror universe and everything, and we do have a portal to like alternate realities and whatnot. Once we fix this whole burn issue, we could get you there, but our realities have just drifted too far apart. I don't know. You think maybe that might come up. But I mean, it is still an intriguing, like, there's just this alternate universe portal thing. I don't know. I feel like we need a show around that. Also, I just clocked, we never dealt with Boimler learning that his Boimler clone was still alive. I mean, don't get me wrong, this was an absolutely packed finale. I just noticed in that frame. But yeah, we have a lot of great conclusions. I like that Starbase 80 came back. Don't make me think I'm forgiving you for the, like, 200 years of total neglect. I mean, the moment you have Admiral Freeman going on, and it's like, she's joking about the gel. I'm like, 2 weeks from now, that an armada is coming with, like, all new systems. Sure, the whole point is that Starbase 80 is old and has to be, but, like, they're getting at least something. Or, like, there's some wide-sweeping campaign to update Federation starships. I don't know. But yeah, I really did... Oh, beautiful frame. Thank you, Paramount Plus. I've said it before, and I'll say it again here for the last time. I am paraphrasing, but this is a quote I encountered from Mike McMahon real early in Lower Decks, possibly even season 1. Lower Decks is the story of Mariner. As much as Lower Decks is an ensemble piece, don't get me wrong, the other characters have arcs in their full right. Lower Decks is the story of Mariner. And when the story of Mariner concludes, that's the end of Lower Decks. And I think it's unfair to say the story of Mariner has concluded. I mean, quite obviously, as I wanted, there's clearly a future. But they've ended Mariner's arc, and I think it just feels like the point to end the series. Like, it definitely feels things have concluded. And I also just want to point out, looking at this frame, how gorgeously animated it is. They have got to be doing that thing of animating Mariner better, because she's grown. You know, she's overcome all of the everything that Mariner was in season 1, as people have pointed out, as we have quite clearly seen. I really like the additional touch of Captain Freeman leaving the ship. Getting promoted, of course, leaving the ship in a good way and being with her husband. Because as I said, like, I've also really grown to care about the bridge crew. You know, Lower Decks has put a lot of time and effort into characterizing them and to make me care for them. And it's just as satisfying to see Freeman get this promotion, get this happy, you know, life with her husband, basically becoming the new Captain Sisko. And as it is to see, like, Mariner overcome her difficulties, or Boimler get to be the first officer, and all that stuff. So all of this was beautiful to me. And again, the fact that it's unexpected is just nice, because, you know, I'm sorry, I've just seen the lovely detail of Mariner just a little bit off to her own and not so sure about it. It's a fantastic series. It really is. I think Prodigy is probably better in terms of overall tightness, just kind of average, maybe baseline quality. But I think Lower Decks is definitely the best character we've gotten out of any Star Trek since Deep Space Nine. And quite frankly, any Star Trek since TOS except for Deep Space Nine. And I'm not even sure if Deep Space Nine beats Lower Decks. You know, it's just been fantastic. There are, I mean, maybe this is just a consequence of what I want. They did exactly what I wanted, where, you know, we ended a point where the characters have kind of concluded their arcs, we're satisfied, but there's a future. Obviously, there's a future that they're going down. I think they did that very well. At the same time, though, there's a little bit of the wanting more, you know? Can I just skip a few frames ahead? No, a few more frames ahead. A few frames ahead. There we go. Dang it! There we go. Yeah, can you guess the little bit more I'm wanting? I wonder, I'd really love to know one day if the Rutherford-Tendi kind of romance stuff that for the first time is really coming to the surface. I mean, they've referenced it, but it's the first time it's not like, nah, we're just two friends. I'm currently fidgeting with my wedding ring, by the way, as I do. This was basically me and my wife. What year is it? I don't know, like 10 years ago. God, am I that old? No, I would be 14, not 10 years ago. You know, I wonder if this was like season 6 stuff, if they planned to kind of moving this into more of a thing, like, I don't know, Beverly and Picard, or maybe that's not the best example, or if this is just because it's the finale and like, no, we'll bring that up in the final episode. And I can't help but notice that, I mean, obviously Rutherford has a thing for Tendi. I think that's kind of been there, even though they have been friends. But I love the detail, and I like to think that is in their future. Oh, come on, not that frame. If we open up on the elevator shot, sorry, I do have to hide the screen just for copyright reasons. They open with, I did notice Tendi staring at Rutherford. I did not notice Rutherford staring at Tendi until I was sitting before the pre-stream thing. But I also, I do appreciate, especially as the final episode, I think it would have felt rushed to just have them, like, make out or something. But I also like that you can go, like, no, I like them as friends, and kind of keep it there. Maybe they went a little hard into the romance angle. But I do appreciate as an ending when you kind of go like, you as the fan, just like their story is what you want it now, you know. Talin never really got much of an arc. They just liked her in Wejduj, or however you pronounce it. Look, if Michael Dorn doesn't know how to speak Klingon, I can say Wejduj incorrectly. Wejduj, I don't know. I'm just not. Klingon's not in the back. It's like in the throat. I don't know. But yeah. So Talin, I mean, she was fine. I liked her. I kind of wish my girl Tindy got to be senior science officer on her own, but I think she's good. I think the Tindy and Talin is a good dynamic. They complement each other well. It's cute. And I mean, Tindy's happy, so who am I to judge? Rutherford, for me, has always been that character who's good and there, but doesn't really change much. You know, he's something of a constant, which especially in a comedy, you know, you get that. That's absolutely fine. I like Rutherford. They never gave him much of an arc. I mean, we're talking compared to like Tindy, Boimler, Mariner. God, Mariner especially. So he had his little bits. I mean, obviously, 10 frames forward, he got his cyborg thing, which I've actually adapted to a lot quicker. I like kind of the surprise compliment of his mirror universe self. Well, not mirror universe, alternate universe, where Rutherford was like full cyborg, no emotion. Wesley Haley, thank you for saying I rock. I have no idea how long that message has been sitting there, but I just noticed it in chat. Thank you very much. But yeah, alternate Rutherford was full emotion, and now our Rutherford's kind of diverged to get that love of the Cerritos back, to finally fall in love with his cute little ball of optimism. That's the frame we're gonna sit on for a while, just so you know. I had a point, and now Tindy's distracted me. Oh yeah, it does beg the question, why does Rutherford have the implements in the first place if you could remove them? But hey, maybe it's new tech. Wesley, I'd like to point out, Geordie has the same problem, but Wesley Haley, thank you very much. You love the channel. I love the channel too. I do have some updates. I'm done with Rutherford now. This is a good chance to bring him up. First off, the fan home starship, for those reviews I do, it has been held up. Apparently, the shipping people fan home use, not USPS, but like the sub people, are garbage. And I know that like every shipping company in the world is basically rated 1 star because you only ever notice and rate a company when they mess up. But I hear from like people who own businesses over multiple years, you see online, like, no, they're never on time. I mean, they delivered the first one fine. But it finally left Kansas after like literally 9 days. It is December. Maybe that's something to do with it. Landed in Illinois. I don't know why. That's the wrong way to get from Kansas to Washington. But USPS finally has it, so it is actually in Spokane right now. God, Kansas, Illinois, Nevada, Washington. That's not... Anyway, that should be coming up soon then anyway. It might be delayed if it comes like Christmas Eve, but... after this, of course, we will be starting TOS. Well, not starting. We'll be continuing our TOS watch-along with Season 2, Cat's Paw. Desperately need to order that thumbnail for my wife. But it will not be next week. There is no stream next week because of holiday stuff. So that's a lie. There is no stream Saturday. Friday or Sunday, we are doing Doctor Who. I don't know which. I'll let you know tomorrow. We're reviewing the Christmas special. So January 2025, whatever the Saturday is, 4th, we'll be back with TOS, doing those watch-alongs. And I think that's it. I don't know what I'll do for Section 31. I'll do that at some point. I I think that's all the news. David C., thank you very much for the $20, fulfilling our secret goal of one $0 super chat. We actually exceeded the goal by $20. But yes, it is good to have you here. Thank you for paying for a third of the dog food, I guess. Happy holidays, David C., Wesley, everyone at home. Happy holidays to my favorite couple, Tindy and Rutherford. I want that. If Lower Decks does do comics and stuff. I was about to say if Lower Decks does books, I might buy them just for Tindy and Rutherford. I've never done really any of the Star Trek EU stuff. I kind of know what happens because like Star Trek Online follows a lot of that canon, and I've just heard a lot of stuff, particularly like Enterprise and post-Nemesis stuff, you know, the Star Trek wilderness years, if you will. But, you know, Star Trek's always kind of had that on-screen equals canon, canon equals on-screen thing. So it's just something I've never really gotten into. I need to do a Tindy cosplay sometime. My wife asked me if there's anyone I want to cosplay at the con coming up, and I said no, but it's Tindy, and I need to buy it. Oh god, I need to buy Lower Decks uniforms before they stop making them. Quick. I already have Discovery. Actually, maybe we stay on this frame too. Ghost Candle. That's not Ghost Candle, that's Mark Twain. But no, this whole speech at the end, I mean, you could argue it's obvious, I guess, fair. But I think when wrapping up the series, no, Tindy, Rutherford, there you go, give each other the eyes. When wrapping up the series, I guess this is just kind of what you would do. I loved, because again, I'm just attached to this crew. I was happy to see Ransom become captain, not a sentence I would have thought I'd say even like 2 seasons ago. Ransom, side tangent, we get appreciation for Ransom. Just like the arc, intentional like redemption I think that guy's had, from like just the stupid commander who's bad at his job and is obsessed with lifting weights, to actually learning that he's an amazing commander who cares about his crew and also pretends to be kind of useless so that his crew can band together against him and learn lessons about themselves. Like, the dude reformed Mariner. Beckett Mariner, like Last Chance kicked off every starship in the fleet. Mariner got reformed by that. Like, shout outs to Jack, not to mention the actual guy, I don't remember his name, I'm sorry, but the actor who plays Jack is married to the woman who plays Una in Strange New Worlds, which is fun. But also, shout outs to that line from the crossover episode where Ransom walks by, their bunk beds, because they're still in bunk beds, and, like, someone's got a poster of Una, and he's like, hottest officer in the fleet, and it's funny, because they're married. Shoutouts to Jack, man. I did not think I would leave this series with Jack being, like, in my top 5 characters. Wesley Ailey, I ordered the Radial Room Picard Enterprise D from Trek Store. It was cheaper. I don't know what this is. But the workers on both store, different store page. I don't know what you're talking about, but that sounds cool. I do the starships. I kind of try and stop myself from getting into other things. The quality, I just said I have uniforms. I got married in a Star Trek uniform. I will let you start guessing which one it was. But I'd want the real good props, you know? You know those, you can buy, is it Diamond Select? I don't know who does them now. But they make those studio models of the ships that they're made to order and they're like 10 grand a pop. Yeah, those are tempting, you know, those are just, the savings account being dropped on that, but that's the sort of thing. I set my eye on, and this is why I try and avoid, Actually, that's a point. I wonder how much I've spent on Eagle Moss. I don't think it's 10 grand, but could I have had my whole Eagle Moss collection, or just like one amazing, whatever they are? Matt Poster in Star Trek The Next Gen, the ship on the wall, Enterprise D and Picard. Wait, you mean like the painting? God, I've always wanted that painting. Don't tell me that you can buy that painting, because I'll spend money on it. I buy, when I travel internationally, I buy like a lot of street art and stuff we have in our home. Last time I traveled, I did, it was like Italy, France, and Spain. I went in Rome on day one. My brother was there for that trip. I got a very nice painting in our living room, and I went to my brother and said, make sure I never see anything in Rome again, because I just spent the Italy budget. It's huge. Oh my God, you can buy that by 1 to 20 euro. Buy it on the Trek Store Matt Poster Enterprise painting. $35? God, I don't have a budget. It's Lego Modular Building next month, but that is in another tab on the other monitor. Thank you, David C., for buying most of a painting of... Is it good? Do you have it? If it's... I know this isn't the episode. Oh, but it's got the Picard logo on the bottom. Oh, why would you do that? Why that might actually ruin it for me. I'd have to put that blocked by something. Why don't put the Picard logo on the painting? I also don't think that's the one from TNG. That looks real similar. I think they might have done it up a bit, but no, congratulations. That is a very nice painting. I just don't put the logo on the painting. Who are we talking about? Let's see. Lovebirds, yeah. I talked a bit about you. I'll get back to Mariner. Boimler. Boimler's interesting. You know, he's still got that like manic freakout energy. I think I would have liked to see him grow out of that. Honestly, if I were to complain about anyone's ending, it would be Boimler. I like a lot of what they did with him. I mean, he's ranking up. You know, he's gonna be here one day for Pips. But I do kind of wish this whole first officer thing. I would have liked to see him enjoy it at least a little bit. You know, it's kind of like what he's wanted his whole life. Finally happening and like way early. It's totally in character for Jack. I get it. Beautiful. I like that you can kind of take this as, oh, it's just training. If you have sort of the Tilly problem with this, of like a not even ensign becoming captain. I forgot she did that. No, she became first officer, but she, you know, was acting captain through that. Then you could be like, nah, this is just training. He's messing with them. This ends like tomorrow. You can say this is finally the work. This is their step to captaincy. Because they're both command, of course. That kind of is the end goal. I think something like this had to happen because, you know, Tendi has literally achieved her life goal. T'Lyn is in the science, so again, she's a science officer. You know, she doesn't get much better than that. Rutherford, again, he's just kind of happy to be here, and that's his personality. I'm sure he'll be a chief engineer one day. We kind of saw him shining. You know, like, Billups is here. You can't just replace Billups. But we saw that moment of him saving literally the universe through good engineering. You know, I think there's plenty of a path to say, oh, chief engineer, you know. That's kind of his shining moment that got him noticed. And so I think you need something to be like, yes, the command team are going to go up. I would have liked a bit of enthusiasm. I'm fine with Mariner. Like, Mariner's whole thing is like middle decks, you know? Like, Mariner has definitely gotten past her stuff, but I think Mariner could happily be like a lieutenant junior grade for 50 years. But... yeah, and she even had a line about how, like, you get more chance to goof off with rank I think one day she'll make a great captain, but I also think she's happy to not have that now. Boimler, I would love to see ecstatic about this. I think that's the only thing. Then Mariner. I mean, I might have summed up Mariner. Lower Decks is the story of Mariner, and it was an amazing story. Her arc is ended. Sorry, that's the wrong frame. I need the ones not. Okay, what's the implication here? There's a bunch of girls with the sex ghost calendar. What's the, is there an implication here, or am I not supposed to read into the fact that that's the Rosa calendar enough? Like, maybe it's just a seance, but that's a little weird. Anyway, let's try to just think about these two cartoons having relations. Mariner, as I've said before, I might even go back to Lower Deck Season 1 just to, like, see how unrecognizable the actions of, like, that Mariner are. I've loved watching the journey of all these characters, especially Mariner. I think Mike McMahon, as much as he had, like, TNG Season 8 and all that funny comedy stuff, really did have a story to tell. And maybe it was a little faster than he would have liked. I think it's sort of a story after those, like, 4-ish seasons, you probably could have decided, I'll wrap it up, and it ends. It doesn't feel rushed. But it's also one you could have probably let go for, like, 10 and still have meaningful arcs. You two. There's my mouse, you two. But I love it. I am going to miss it, especially wanting more. Yeah. But no, I am gonna miss it. But I'm also very satisfied with where we are. Probably pretty similar to Deep Space Nine, where I still want to see a lot of the arcs continue, but we had wrapped them up. I actually think I'd probably more satisfied by this. I really don't remember my original thoughts to Deep Space Nine's ending. You finally come down with donuts. Thank you. My wife has made donuts. They said before the stream they might come down, and it's taken longer than I thought. But that's okay. We're wrapping up. What was I saying? No, I think I am. I'm wrapping up. It was an amazing journey. It was an amazing series. I would have loved more. I don't feel robbed, though, and I think that's important. We're now, I think, just down to 1 Star Trek. No, 2. I always forget Academy. We got Strange New Worlds and Academy. Gonna be honest, I'm not gonna prejudge Academy, but it almost feels like a bit of a step down. I know people are crazy about Strange New Worlds. It's like the best thing since Deep Space Nine. Strange New Worlds like hits as much as it misses for me. Don't get me wrong, I like it, but for me, Lower Decks is kind of the last of the original new Treks. In large part because I bought Paramount Plus specifically for Picard. And so I got essentially Discovery and Picard at the same time. And then very soon after, I got Lower Decks. I don't remember what that gap was. And then Lower Decks was the one that was good. But, we're kind of wrapped that up. And now we've got just the movies. We got Section 31, which, again, I don't want to prejudge it, but I will be amazed if I like it. That's my vibe. We've got Academy. We've got, like, Star Trek 4, some other movie. Well, yeah, there's that Origin movie, like Kelvin Origin. I don't know. I feel like there's not as much to be excited about with the loss of Lower Decks. Again, Strange New Worlds has good. Academy, I mean, I might get excited when I start seeing it. I'll certainly give it a go. It depends on how you do that teen drama sort of thing. And I have never seen a depiction of Starfleet Academy I have liked. So you have an uphill battle, But yeah, and then we've got Tony Newsom's comedy, weird like reality TV show comedy. And it's Khan said he Alpha 5, which they tell me is happening one day. But I don't know. I hope Tony Newsom seems like a great person. I love them as Mariner. I hope they have a long, prosperous career with Trek. I mean, they are the Trek nerd. I think they're almost the David Tennant of Star Trek. And that David Tennant was a massive Doctor Who fan. He appears in so many Doctor Who spin-offs before becoming the second Doctor. And then he still gives time to Big Finish when he can to play the Doctor. And of course, now the BBC to play the Doctor. And Tony Newsom kind of gives me those vibes of the big Star Trek fan. There was the Star Trek Day where she was the host, and she kept going off and like having the host thing, and then going like, yeah, they're yelling at me in the ear to like wrap it up, get going, we're behind schedule. I'm like, oh, Tony, you are never going to be allowed to host an event again in your lifetime, but you're taking in every moment, you're loving it, and I appreciate that. Also, hey, if Tony Newsom is hanging around Star Trek, maybe that means we get more Mariner, who knows. But yeah, it's a shame to see him go. I hope we can keep fun things going. Yeah, for me, the Enterprise D, they retired too conveniently for someone I'd say who hates on Trek in charge there at Paramount. The Enterprise D, I'm not sure what you're getting at, because the Enterprise D was like Generations. That's old Trek. And like, sure, I'll shit on Burnham, you know, Rick Burnham. Burnham? Not Burnham. Michael Burnham. Berman, that's the word, Rick Berman. I'll also shit on Burnham without too much provocation. But, yeah, I'm rambling. There's my crew. I do love this crew. I love Tindy. That's the end of the sentence. I love Tindy and Rutherford. Don't worry, we can share. And I don't think Lower Decks had a single bad character. Just off the top of my head there. And even the characters like Rutherford or Shax or Billups, who didn't really get too much, well, T'Lyn as well, they still had development, they still have nice arcs, and they're just fun to have around. Yeah, that's it. I can't wait for my wife to catch up and get to Lower Decks. I'm going to eat these donuts, which seem more like frosted cookies, but that's okay. It was a new recipe. Oh, yeah. Nope, that's a cookie with chocolate on top. I will say thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.